Well, it has begun. Gary and family have arrived at the cabin. As promised, we're going to be delivering some awesome content for you guys, and I think we'll be doing a question and answer. So we'll get to it very shortly. Just really happy that Gage, hi Gage, that Gage is here. They've been doing nothing but running around, playing and getting into trouble since Gage got here. Of course, been pretty bored here, so he's happy to have a friend. Here's the man of the hour. It's Gary! Woo! The bugs are bad, guys. Oh, the black flies. I've never seen it like this time of year.
They're not bad in here.
He's been hiding in the trailer. Black flies are really bad. Got a lot of running water here after all the rainfall, and the bugs have been out. All right, well, Gary's here at the cabin, and this is one of our first times we've ever done a Q&A together. We do collaborations, and I know a lot of you guys have some burning questions, so let's get into it. So one of the biggest questions we get is, are we related? Is Gary my brother?
Nope.
Brother from another mother. No, we are not related. But we've known each other for, I was doing the math now, I think about 20 years or something like that. Like probably over 20
More
years.
than that.
More than that.
Yeah, like 25 years.
Yep, 25 years.
You're old, Jen. I'll shout out to Deb Martin, who I don't give any warning to people to let them know what I'm doing or where I'm going. My fault. I'm just bad. So I threw up the Q&A thing that Jen wanted, and Deb was the only one who asked, and she asked that exact question again. Is Jen my sister? So no, we're not related. So
yeah, and I've had questions on my channel too asking, well, how do we know each other? So basically I became friends with Gary's wife there at school, and then the rest is history. We just started hanging out, all of us, and doing things, and realizing we had similar, outdoor passions and photography. We like doing that, and videography. So it just sort of blossomed over the years, and we live quite a distance from each other, but we always make an effort to get together.
one of us makes more effort than the other.
I know I owe you a visit.
My trailer's right here off camera. There's proof.
Yeah, so I so appreciate, when we get together, it's like, it's just so easy. It's like, we just, as you guys know, I know a few of you said, oh, we sound the same, we do the same things. Well, we've just known each other for a super long time. So.
You know when you have those friends that you don't have to see but 3 times a year, and you just jump right back into instant conversations, and
yep.
That's us.
Yep, exactly, which is so fortunate these days to have friends like that. It's really a blessing. And I still have my old drone, and it's still working, but I'm a bit nervous because sometimes it has, it wants to fly backwards and go into trees and stuff like that. So I repaired it. It does work. But Gary's new drone, I tell you, it's really something awesome. It's got sensors and stuff, so it's not going to be whacking into trees or whatever. Mine does not have that. Mine's
hopefully
the Mavic Mini, like the old Mavic Mini, the first one. He's got the really nice one there. So I'm going to kind of, see what his is like and decide if I need to upgrade to his new drone for my channel.
I should let Jen fly it, because once you see the new screen and the new controller, it's like night and day difference. Before, we used to have to plug our phones in, and it was kind of a pain in the butt. It's just everything's there in one unit now, and they've made it such a joy, and the software is way better to use as well.
Yeah. Than
it used to be. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to learning more about it and seeing if it's right for me. And Mike also asks if I get some similar weird phenomenons at the cabin as Gary does. I've had some unusual experiences here. I'd say, I have a crow that comes around here that seems to talk and things like that and says hello, which is kind of weird. It sounds like a human. But, I do see some of the bent trees, like some squatch sign and stuff like that. So
I was looking at loopers this morning just down the trail there, and I was thinking, Jen's got squatch too.
It is. Like, we were driving in and around the region for a video we did last night, and it's some good squatching territory up here. So he's going to have to come and visit more often so we can kind of look around for some sign.
I think if you look for this stuff, especially now on my channel, like I say, I think it's more paranormal than Bigfoot. I know all my viewers say, oh, it's 100% Bigfoot. I'm like, I don't know. But if you look at videos all over the world, anybody that goes into natural deep forests, like old forests where people don't go, you get these knocks and weird sounds and things that...
Yeah, some of the trees, it sounds like the trees are rubbing together, but it's not the trees, It's weird.
Like voices. In a very recent video on my channel, I heard, like, it sounded like chanting, actually, like native chanting or something. We recorded it. I don't know what it was, but it was there.
Yeah. So, he's in sort of, this area, there's a lot like logging history and, Irish and Scottish settlers and stuff like that. He's got a lot more history, I think, in the north, the Voyageur.
Colonial Voyageur in my area. Yeah, trade routes
and stuff,
were literally hundreds of meters from my house.
Yeah. So his history's maybe a little bit older than here and stuff like that, but, in some aspects, obviously. But Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, we did some metal detecting here at the cabin. Check out that video. I did find some interesting things. So, I mean, we have plans in the future maybe to detect around here and see what we can find in some of the old logging villages and things like that.
I will definitely bring a detector next time I come. And Jen said she knows there's a couple old logging camps. And I said, if you can show me where there was a logging camp, we will definitely find stuff there. Stuff. Yeah.
Carol asks if we've ever had a bear encounter. Gary?
Not very many. Actually, probably I could count on one hand, like 4 times where I've run into a bear while out fishing. When I was a kid, I grew up in the bush, didn't have a job till I was 18 or 19. I went fishing every day, and very rarely it would happen. And I'll tell you guys, every time it did happen, the bear would stand up. As soon as the bear would identify what I am, then it would just stand up and go in the opposite direction. I've never had anything where they've come at me or anything. If they have cubs, they usually send the cubs up a tree, and then the mother will take off. And I've had a pack sack full of fish, and they've never bothered me. Not to say that it can't happen, but we have black bears and not grizzlies here, so they're not as aggressive, but I've never had a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I can say similarly, I've never had issues. I've got them on the trail cams here. I have seen them come through. They usually keep quite a distance. I mean, in the early years, I used to carry a lot of spray around here because I had no idea what I was going to expect, but I generally don't. The closest I got to having an interesting encounter is when Royce was a puppy. He was about, I don't know, 12 weeks old. We were walking down a forestry trail, and I thought another bouvier was coming up the trail. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I don't see that many. And then I looked, and I was like, that is not a bouvier. That is a bear. It was literally coming up the same path, like following like head on with us, and it was kind of dusky. Well, no, it was like 6 o'clock. It wasn't that dusky, but it was later in the day. I don't know if it was a solitary male or whatever. There's no cubs. But I saw it. So it was like, no, bear, no. And anyway, he just sort of looked at me and then just kind of veered off. Like he was not, I mean, I was probably more alarmed than he was, and just kind of looked at me and kind of went off. And of course, Royce was like, oh my goodness. It probably thought I was a mama bear with a cub. I don't know. So it kind of veered off. I did have spray at that point, and I had it ready to kind of engage, but I didn't have to use it. I just was really loud, had Royce on the leash. We just kind of kept walking. I didn't really have any issues. Now, if I was in grizzly country, that might be a different ball game for sure. I mean, I'm always bear aware, bear smart, but grizzly country is a whole nother thing. Was out west, Calgary and things like that. And, you know, we would go on hiking trails and whatnot. And especially in grizzly territory, you have to be, you know, with a group. You can't just be like 1-2 people hiking around. You have to be
make
prepared.
a lot of noise, let the bears know you're there.
Yeah.
You don't want to surprise a bear.
No, that's the thing. So, you know, I mean, I know they joke about, oh, you know, you wear the bear bells and just it's like the dinner bell for bears and stuff like that. But I mean, there is something to making noise, talking.
Last piece of advice, they always say there's 2 things. If a black bear attacks you, you fight back, because it's rare that they do. If they are, they're trying to eat you. They're hungry.
Predatory.
They're predatory. You are prey. If the grizzly attacks you, play dead. Because there is a good chance that it'll just knock you around and then leave. But I would never want to run into a grizzly because just the size is, you can't even imagine, you know, paws are like this, you know, bigger than your head.
Yeah, if you guys saw my Calgary Zoo video, I mean, some of the claws on them were like, you know, 8 inches or something. Like, and they're tall. They stand right up. Like, you don't have a prayer.
No.
So, I mean, I don't like to be freaked out about going in the woods. I mean, I just respect all the animals that are here and realize that they, you know, can be startled or have young or whatnot and be prepared to defend. But I honestly, in this area, and Gary,
moose are more dangerous in our area than bears, to be honest. Yeah,
especially if you ran into one with a young moose. I mean, you could be charged, stomped flat as a bath mat. You know what I mean? Like they're like, and they're huge. You have no idea how big they are.
Yeah.
They're big in this area, but they're even bigger in Alaska and things like that. They're very serious creatures to deal with. So I'd be a bit more worried, like you said, about a moose.
A couple thousand pounds worth of charging animal
run
you
right down. We had a moose here, young female. Actually quite friendly, but I gave her a wide berth. Like she didn't care. She was eating the tops of aspens, looking at me and whatnot. But I was not about to be like, oh, you know, like you see some of these tourists, you know, with the camera, like, oh, like don't do that.
Don't walk up to even a regular deer. There are more people attacked by regular white-tailed deer a year and killed than other animals. Like people think, oh, it's a deer, it can't hurt you. They'll stomp you. They'll knock you down.
On the back legs.
Kick you.
Not funny, but it's true.
It is true. Yeah.
So we have another question here about when we do camping and stuff like that. And Gary does a lot of hunting and things. What factor of nature do we fear most when camping in remote areas? Wildlife.
Gage. He's tearing Jen's fence apart. Gage, come here.
And we're back at it. So to recap, what one factor of nature do we fear most when camping in remote areas? Would it be wildlife, wind, trees, lightning, thermal conditions, disorientation, loss, drowning, falls, or fire?
For me, it's cold.
Mm-hmm.
When I hunt in the fall, you guys saw, those who
Oh
watch
yeah,
my
you
channel,
got
I
wet.
actually fell in the creek,
Yeah.
and that's no joke. You don't, in the fall it'll be minus 7, 8, 10 degrees Celsius. Even if you're hiking all day, you're still going to get hypothermic. You've got to stop and dry your stuff out. So for me, the number one thing to fear and watch for is always wet and cold.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. I do a lot of camping in flank seasons. I don't really like camping a lot in summer. The bugs right now are atrocious.
Yeah.
A lot of people are suffering out there camping. Hey guys, are you having fun yet? So I do like early spring and fall. And yeah, that's the thing. Sometimes I'll paddle out on these waterways to get to these locations, and yeah, one mistake and you could be in big trouble.
Yeah.
Big trouble. So making sure you've got enough wood. You always need to overestimate there too if you're camping somewhere. So I'd say cold is definitely a big one. And watching the weather too. Weather is part of it too. If it's raining, if it's snowing, if it's windy, that adds a whole nother element to it. Now, unfortunately, with climate change, we have to worry about sort of more extreme weather conditions.
Yeah.
Leading to like these derechos. Like we had tornadoes here at the cabin a few years ago, and I mean, I couldn't only imagine if I know people that were out camping in that, and it was terrifying. They had to be medevaced out when they got injured by a tree falling and stuff. So that's, I always kind of plan now a little bit more than usual for weather events.
Yeah.
And right now, not a great fire season here. I mean, thankfully we've had a lot of rain, but you never know in certain areas.
This is the first year in 4 years that we haven't had a fire ban.
That's right.
So it's been very dry the last few years. We had a whole summer where we couldn't have a fire, not once.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah, so I'd say those things are some of the main concerns, and obviously being really careful not to get injured.
Yeah.
Because you could be in some remote areas and have a really hard time getting out. There's been times when I've got my finger on like sort of a handsaw or whatever like that, doing wood, and you're working with axes and things like that. So you have to be very intentional with your movements and what you're doing. I mean, I know some of you guys may be watching the series alone and stuff like that now, seeing some people, injure themselves with arrows and, things like that. And it's like, yeah, that's always a risk when you're remote, like getting injured. Yeah. Hypothermia, kind of like health related stuff, right? Because you want to be safe.
I think everyone thinks that animals is the number one concern. A lot of people that aren't out in the woods a lot, but really you don't. If you know the animals, if you grow up here and you've been taught hunting and fishing and all that, they're not really as much of a concern as just Mother Nature itself.
Yeah. Mother Nature's like, can take you out.
Yep.
Can snuff you out in a heartbeat. So
Yep.
You got to keep, tuning your skills and things like that, and just being very aware of your surroundings and things like that. And I mean, sometimes I do honestly worry as a female too, like we do some camping and whatnot, running into a weirdo. I'm going to say that. Like
that's a human issue though. That's not
issue. That's not an environmental issue, but that's like I'd say the number two beyond the stuff.
That is actually, yes, that's a very legitimate concern.
Yeah.
And we don't carry guns here in Canada like most of the Americans that watch our channels. That I get asked all the time, why don't you carry a gun? Well, we're just not permitted to carry a gun.
Not for self-defense or anything like that. So just gotta keep your wits about you and stuff like that. I mean, if there's areas where I go and there's like just a random truck kind of parked there, like, yeah, I'm not gonna go in there. I don't know. I mean, it could be just an innocent person going in there, like taking photos like me or whatever.
And 99% of the time it is, but you just don't want to take that chance, right?
No. So that's the sad truth of it. That's another concern, especially for females out doing, remote hunting, fishing, camping. Christopher asks if I have any plans to do any additions on the cabin. Will that be featured? And yeah, we're just actually talking about that this morning. Things would be good ideas to have. And definitely I want to do like a screened in porch at the front. Right now I've got like a 10 by 10 Walmart tent in the front that's screened in for the bugs. But I would like to do that as a more permanent fixture for the cabin. I feel like doing a lot of cabin work should happen kind of in the spring or fall when there's no bugs around. So I'm not like losing my mind doing it and doing a good job. So that's part of it. Maybe doing like a heat exchange pump situation so we can have proper cooling and heating in the cabin. That's not,
maybe water at some point.
Yeah, water, a more permanent water situation here, like a well, I think would be a good idea. That way you're not schlepping back.
I'd like to put my order in for a bunk, maybe, so I don't have to bring the trailer.
Yeah,
but...
yeah. We'll have like Gary's the addition. The
Gary ensuite.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's some things that are in the works. I don't know when they're going to happen, but stay tuned. Certainly we'll show you guys on this channel as things progress onward. Also, some questions regarding mushrooms, which is one of my favorite topics. So the question was, are those mushroom grow kits worth it? And I have used some of those little grow kits for fun. I think they are a little bit expensive, and they have a sort of a shortened lifespan. I think I've got a couple of flushes out of them. So I think it's great if you have kids and you want to do something really safely and you know the mushrooms are like what they say they are. I think that would be a really good thing to have. Yeah, they grow in like wood chips or wood pellets. You know, they spray them with, you know, the spores and stuff like that. Basically, they grow the mycelium and then the mushrooms kind of fruit from there. So it's pretty fun. I've done oyster mushrooms and I think beartooth fungus. I think they're fine, but you know, as you go onwards, progress onwards from there to, I now I put them in, I buy like 100 plugs and I do, you know, these big logs. And just like I got here at the cabin this past week, my oyster mushrooms had gone, I think the week before, so they're a little bit old, which is frustrating. Been years since I put the mushroom plugs in for the oysters, and they finally flushed. So I got the shiitake, now I've got the oysters, so that's the next step. And that one's a bit more economical, I think, because, you know, you get some fresh hardwood or whatever, and then you put in your plugs, and that's going to give me mushrooms for years and years, well beyond one of these little small mushroom kits. So I think that's a bit more economical. But if you're a bit worried about contamination and other strange mushrooms growing on those logs, then we don't do it that way. But if you have a fresh held log, there should be no issues with like contamination from unusual mushrooms, because the mycelium from whatever you're putting in there is going to just absolutely take it over. And last question, do we have any plans for doing some more night investigations, hack shack, things like that?
So we just did a couple investigations, actually. We went to the Holy Well, which was on Mount St. Patrick.
Yep.
We did that last night. We ran Hack Shack and Necrophonic. It rained, so I couldn't run the new drone, but what a cool place. Like, there was graves back to the early 1840s, I think, 1830s maybe.
Yep. That's an old site.
Yeah, lots of history. And on the way there were all kinds of like old log buildings with the chinking in between. Like, it's just a very historical area, so we did that session. Jen and I did a session down here in the field at the campfire.
Yeah, we had some good stuff there.
Yeah, we got a name that we didn't say it beforehand, so there's no way that the phones could just come up with this. But if you watched our adventures from last year, we had Mike that was here in the deep cedar swamp, came through, and we made, you know, kind of asked questions and seemed like he was like a logging personality. And then last year at Bon Echo, we had Mike come through again, and then we were sitting at the fire, and the first thing that Hack Shack said...
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, sorry. 15 minutes in, the first thing it said was, it's Mike, I believe, right?
Yeah. So anyway, you got to watch that session. It's really, really good.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this, one of our first Q&As together, and hopefully we'll do more. Ask us more questions down below. We'll save them up. We'll do another Q&A in the future. Maybe I'll owe Gary a visit.
I'll try to let my people know a little more in advance so they can actually ask questions.
But hey, yeah, definitely leave them down below. We will definitely answer some more questions in the future. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Gary. It's been a blast, and we'll see you in the next video. And don't forget to check out, Gary has 3 channels right now.
Yep, Unfrequented World, Lost Treasures, and then Bigfooter Gary.
Yeah, so it spans all of your interests, so go check them out. And the videos that we did, our night sessions, are going to be on his channel there.
Yep, on my main channel.
On the main channel, Unfrequented World. All right, we'll see you guys in the next video down the trail. Have a good week. Take care. Bye.